Are you the expected one, or do we look for someone else? Welcome to Just Jesus. I'm honored to have you join me today as we are going to look at a passage in the Gospel of Luke that is amazing about John the Baptist. Of course, John is the great prophet who introduces Jesus. Jesus says he's more than a prophet. And he's the one, he knows who Jesus is. When Jesus comes to be baptized, John says, I should be baptized by you, not me baptizing you. You should be baptizing me. And Jesus said, we need to do this to fulfill all righteousness, as Jesus has come to identify with mankind as the servant of the Lord, out of Isaiah 42. But anyway, so John has confronted Herod, the ruler, the Roman ruler, about marrying his brother's wife, and he ends up in prison. Um, and while he's in prison, all the faith and the knowledge that John had about Jesus, here's the passage in Luke chapter 7, verse 18 and following. It says, and the disciples of John reported to him about all these things. Now, John's in prison, so his disciples come and they tell him about Jesus. In summoning two of his disciples, John sent them to the Lord, saying, are you the expected one, or do we look for someone else? And when the men had come to him, they said, John the Baptist has sent us to you, saying, are you the expected one, or do we look for someone else? At that very time, he cured many people of diseases and afflictions and evil spirits, and he granted sight to many who were blind. And he answered and said to him, you go and report to John what you have seen and heard. The blind receive sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, the poor have the gospel preached to them. And blessed is he who keeps from stumbling over me. So while here's John the Baptist, this guy of great faith, knows who Jesus is. He's the prophet of God, chosen by God before birth to come and introduce the Messiah to the world. And now he's in prison, and he's asking, are you the expected one? And maybe John does not believe anymore, and maybe I was all wrong about this. Well, what I think is happening is John's not the only one. All the Jews thought the Messiah was going to be a military warrior and throw off the oppression of the Roman government that was ruling over them. And so Jesus is out, instead of building up the army, Jesus is out telling people you need to love your enemy and bless those who curse you, and pray for those who persecute you, all these kinds of things. And John's going, wait a minute, I thought you were the Messiah. And this is not what we had expected. Jesus, you have the power to stop hurricane force winds. You can raise the dead, give sight to the blind. You can do all these powerful things. Surely you are the Messiah who's going to lead us to freedom. And so the response that Jesus gives is very interesting. It's out of Isaiah 61, when he says, you tell John what you have seen and heard, that the blind receive sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the dead hear, the dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. Blessed is he who keeps from stumbling over me. And Jesus is telling them, you go back and tell John, yes, I am the Messiah, but your idea of who the Messiah is going to be and what he's going to do needs some adjustment. This passage out of Isaiah 61, Isaiah, of course, has all these what they call servant songs that refer to the servant of the Lord who's coming to deliver and do the will of God. And so Isaiah 61 says this, verse 1, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me. Anointed is a verb. The word in the noun is Messiah or Christ in the Greek. So the Lord has anointed me. I am the Messiah, to bring good news to the afflicted. He sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to captives, freedom to prisoners, proclaim the favorable year of the Lord, to comfort all those who mourn, and so on. And so Jesus is letting John's disciples know, go tell John, here's what the Messiah is actually supposed to be doing. Now, I think John, after he heard that, I think John probably got his head screwed on straight again before he got it chopped off, and because that's what ends up happening to him. But there's a good message for us from this. And the message is, when we have the wrong idea of what we think Jesus should be and what he should do for us, we miss the boat. I say it often that God's not trying to give us heaven on earth. He's trying to give us heaven in heaven. That what God is concerned about is our spiritual walk and our spiritual destiny. And so the idea of what some of the TV evangelists and other church leaders proclaim about all the health and wealth and so on that you're going to enjoy. And if you become a Christian, all these good things are going to happen to you. And when you go to church on Sunday, you should feel entertained and all these kinds of things. That's not what it's about. It's about a relationship with God based on the sacrifice of Jesus with the blood that he shed at the cross. And we begin to walk in this relationship with God now, and it's not physical deliverance. Sometimes as Christians, we actually, not only do we experience the things that the people of the world experience, whether it be car wrecks or sicknesses or whatever it is, we have the added ingredient of persecution that sometimes happens on Christians. But the key is that we need to be faithful no matter what, because our goal is not to have everything we want in this life. What we want is a relationship with God to where we say, like the psalmist says in Psalm 73, verse 25, besides you, there's nothing on earth that I desire. That we crave this relationship with God. And Jesus is the one who makes that possible. So don't fall for what goes on sometimes today in so-called Christianity with the health, wealth, God giving you all these different things. We need to learn like John needed to learn. It's not all about that. It's about the good news being preached to us and us having a great relationship with God in this life and then on into eternity. I thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I pray that your life is blessed. I pray that if I can ever be of help to you, that you will contact me, and I would be delighted to answer any questions you have, help you in any way that I can. God bless you with a great day close to Jesus.